Good morning. It's good to be here. Just wanted to start by talking a bit about COVID. It's definitely brought its fair share of challenges over the past few years. It's also had its benefits though. I mean, doing church and devotions over Zoom has been great. Makes it a heck of a lot easier to see who's got their eyes open during the prayer. I remember as a kid you always had that one person and they'd be like, Miss, Tim had his eyes open during the prayer. It's like, yeah, well, obviously I wasn't the only one there, was I? And then you've always got that one person tends to treat prayer like school presentation night. It just drags on and on and on. And you used to just grin and bear it, but now you can just click mute. It's a wonderful thing, the mute button. I wish I had a mute button in real life. It'd be great. Classic Karen starts going off about the ills of society and the problem with kids these days and mute! Or, you really shouldn't be putting the tomato sauce in the cupboard when the label says to refrigerate after mute! Or, hello, we'd like to take a moment to talk to you about our Lord and Saviour. Mute! Be incredible. As a straight guy though, COVID has definitely been difficult, just spending the last year or so trying to find ways to dodge and get out of all the different mandates. I was talking to God the other day and he said to me, Tim, I'm giving you a gift. I thought, ooh, that's a bit exciting. What is that, Is it maybe gift of prophecy or gift of healing, gift of discernment? And he said, no, gift of singleness. And I thought, I know what I'll do with that one. I'll put that in the cupboard and re-gift it next Christmas. And I just who to give it to. My crush's boyfriend, he'll never know what hit him. I've realised as a Christian guy in the church, as a single person looking for the one, there's always a bit of a stigma. You either fit into one of two categories. Either, without a doubt, you are God's greatest gift to mankind, best thing since sliced bread, but no one else is having a bar of it. Or you fit into the second category. You've had a good look around, you've assessed your options, you feel a strong desire called a singleness. At least those guys are in good company. I was reading in 1 Corinthians and Paul says, to the unmarried and the widows, it is good for them to stay unmarried as I am. Remember the first time I read that, I thought, geez, come on, Paul, don't ruin it for the rest of us. I've noticed there's a few different analogies for if you're a single person looking for the one. You got, the fishing analogy, plenty of fish in the sea. It's like, yeah, but you just got to find the right one, don't you? Oh mate, what are you going for? Oh well, I'm using fresh South Australian cockles and I'm trying to catch the elusive yellow spotted freshwater river bream. That's a guy that knows exactly what he's after and what he's got to offer. I'm a young bachelor with a strong personality, well-paying full-time job, and I'm after a young lass with blonde hair, blue eyes, long legs, who likes me. Same guy though, a few years later, mate, how's your love life going? Well, man looks at outward appearances, but the Lord looks at the heart. So I'm trying not to be too fussy. That's the same fisherman a few hours later. Oh, what are you going for? Oh, anything that bites. I've noticed as Christians though, we've often got our own versions of what the world has. Like in the world, if you like a girl, you look them up on Facebook. But if you're a Christian, you don't want to be unevenly yoked, you stalk them on the Bible app. That's some next level stuff, Oh, I know Jenny says she's a Christian, but last week she was doing the plan breaking free after a breakup. This week she's doing single ready to mingle. Ooh, I wouldn't, don't go there. And then Becky, Don't get me started on Becky. This morning, she highlighted Jeremiah 29:11 by itself. I mean, talk about taking verses out of context. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot Pentecostal flagpole. And then you've got to consider how active they are. You know, are they highlighting, adding bookmarks? What level's their verse image game at? You know, they have the Bible verse and the nice pretty backgrounds. Is it just the stock standard? You know, Jeremiah 29:11, Philippians 4:13, Genesis 1:1. Or are they making it a bit more personal before they just whack it up on Facebook? I do like those verse images though, but I just find the verse never seems to match the image. It's like, don't be afraid, just believe. Flowers. Or, the Lord stood with me and gave me strength. Sunset. Or, with God, all things are possible. Waterfall. Just once, I'd love to see an image that matches the verse. You know? Don't be afraid, just believe. Creepy ventriloquist style from a horror movie. Or the Lord stood with me and gave me strength. Helping Grandma figure out the latest iPhone. or, you know, with God all things are possible. Getting the shower temperature right straight away in any shower that's not yours. We all know that's a thing. And then you've always got some verses that never seem to get the love they deserve. I'd love to see, you know, a picture of some bears in the forest, and hit him with 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the boys. You never see that. Or a tent pitched on the side of a beautiful blue lake, and J.L. picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the tent peg through his temple into the ground and he died. Or a lone Birkenstock. His brother's widow shall go up to him, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face and say, "This is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line will be known as the family of the unsandaled." I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you're looking for a significant other, you've got to consider this. What's going to give them the most millennial PTSD? Losing their Snapchat streak or losing their Bible streak? If they don't have a Bible streak, faith sounds about as shallow as the dog bone on the back door. I think God's definitely got a great sense of humour. I think the most understated verse in the whole Bible's got to be Matthew 4:2. After not eating for 40 days and 40 nights, Jesus was hungry. It's like, you reckon? I'm like 3 hours rolled by and I'm like, mate, where's the nearest Subway? Let's go. Or the prophet Elijah. I think he definitely had a sarcastic streak. You know, King Ahab sends his men to go get Elijah. They get to him, they yell out to him, they go, "Man of God, the king says come down." And Elijah looks at him and he goes, "If I'm a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men." And then, fire comes down and consumes all of them. So Ahab sends another bunch of people. Now bear in mind, this is how I know it's sarcasm, because Elijah has just confirmed he is a man of God. And they get there and they say again, they go, "Man of God, the king says come down." And he goes, "If I am a man of God, let fire come down and consume you and your 50 men. Then, again, same thing. I reckon, I was thinking about it and I realised if I was put in the same situation as Jesus, I think the disciples would have been in a bit of strife. For example, disciples are all out on the lake. You know, Jesus comes walking to them on the water. Everybody's heard that story. Jesus comes walking and Peter yells out, he goes, "Hey Jesus, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water." Now, I don't know about you, but if I was out walking on the water, not Jesus, me, if I was walking on the water and Peter said that, I'd have been like, he thinks I'm not. Watch this. "Yeah, no, Peter, let's see what you got." Or, for example, the Pharisees, they say to the disciples, they go, hey, why is it that your rabbi always eats with the sinners and the tax collectors? If I was their rabbi, they'd have turned around and they'd have been like, first thing he taught us, he's a dirt poor teacher from Whyalla. First thing he taught us was never turn down a free feed. Been talking to a mate and he was saying you've got to find ways to make the Bible relevant. Find ways to apply it in your day-to-day life. And I thought, that's good. I'm gonna do that. So I was at the shops the other day and this bloke pushed in front of me in the queue. And I was welling up inside and I was like, no, biblical approach, Christian approach, alright, what would Jesus do? So I tapped him on the shoulder and he turned around and I said, Matthew 16:23 says, get behind me, Satan! Or another time, I was talking to Dad and he said to me, he goes, oh Tim, I'm thinking of getting my nose hair waxed, what do you think? I was reminded of what Jesus said to Judas at the Last Supper. So I said, John 13:27, what you're about to do it quickly. I do like those what would Jesus do bracelets, the WWJD, but it got me thinking, I wonder if in Russia they had bracelets that said VVJD. No? I was driving my car along the other day and Vladimir broken down. I was going to keep going, but I thought, no, VVJD, eh? What would Jesus do? Every bloke needs a hobby though. Mine is metal detecting. You know, it's great because you never know what you're going to find. It could be a gold ring or a 100-year-old coin or Grandpa's first set of dentures. Every time that thing starts beeping, the blood starts pumping. It's like one of the purest forms of adrenaline, like stepping on a three-corner jack. It's like when you ask a girl out on Facebook and you see those 3 dots show up that say she's typing, and eventually you get a response. She said yes, you've got a gold ring. Or she said no, it's a bottle cap. Or even worse, you can't even find the darn thing. You know it's there, but you just can't find it. It's like when she leaves you on red, the little face pops up, but that's it. My friends always give me trash for metal detecting. They're like, do a real sport, Tim, like surfing or golf or chess. It's like you can't talk. You do quiz nights and you might as well race cane toads. It is an addictive hobby though. You never know what you're going to find. You always want to get out there and find stuff, and you're like, wow, 20 minutes over there, 20 minutes over there, 20 minutes over there, leave no stone unturned. You start off low and slow, you're like, oh, it's the best hobby, this is so good, look at this. But then after an hour or two of just straight trash, it's like, nah, stupid hobby, nah, sell the thing, get rid of it. Whose dumb idea was this? But then you find something, it's like, look at that, wow. Look at it paying for itself, 5 cents. There's some days when you don't find anything though. Makes you think. We keep our beaches so clean. I hate Clean Up Australia Day. It drives me nuts. If it weren't for that, at least I find trash. I had a mate say to me, he said, if you could solve one problem in the world, what would it be? And I thought about it. And at first I thought, cure to cancer, solve world hunger, world peace. But I genuinely believe from the bottom of my heart that the world would be a better place if more things were made of plastic. Just bottle caps, plastic, screws, plastic, everything not valuable, plastic. Be great. I remember one time I was down at the beach and I heard a mum telling her kid what I was doing. She goes, he's trying to find things people have lost, rings, watches, phones. It's like, no, don't give the kid a false expectation. Be honest with him. He's trying to find things people have lost. Bottle caps, screws, sinkers, their dignity. I think it all started when I was a kid. I loved pirates. I think that's where it all started. Like Blackbeard, he fascinated me. He used to put fireworks in his beard and he'd fire his revolver under the table. Like, imagine that. Oh, hey Blackbeard, pass the salt please. Yeah, no worries. Bang! What the heck do you think you're doing? Didn't your mum ever tell you not to play with guns? They're not toys, I don't know, just kind of thought it'd be funny. Was it? Yeah, no, a little bit, yeah. Or, believe it or not, walking the plank wasn't that common. They used to do this thing called keel hauling instead, where they'd tie a bloke to a rope, they'd drag him under the ship, across all the barnacles. How's that for exfoliation? Talk about a beauty treatment, Oh my gosh, your skin looks so smooth. Where on earth did you get that done? 50% off down at Barnacle Bills. I remember one time as a kid I filled a shoebox with some of my most treasured items. Probably like a Tamagotchi, a footy card and a pencil or something. But buried it in the yard and I drew a map. I went back to dig it up a week later. Unfortunately, my cartography left a bit to be desired. Got the wrong bush. Tell you what, if dead dogs could speak, but it gave him quite a fright. I've noticed with some hobbies, people always do small things to kind of help them out. Like, for example, if you're driving along and you see someone running along, you give them a wide berth, or if I'm driving in the Adelaide Hills, I see a cyclist, I give them a hip and shoulder them into the ditch, put them back where they belong. I've spent a fair bit of money on the hobby. It wasn't hard at all. It was like add to cart, proceed to checkout, confirm payment, easy, done. Haven't regretted it one bit. I've noticed, I think, giving things inanimate objects human names, I think it's been part of my cultural upbringing. Like growing up, we had Kenny Commodore and Barry Barina. You don't see the British doing it, do you? Oh, yes, we had a marvellous weekend. Winnie served us well. We went all the way down the east coast. It was marvellous. Winnie? Who's Winnie? I'm sorry, Winston. He's our Winnebago. It was wonderful. See, I've got two metal detectors. You've got the Equinox 600, or Nellie, and you've got Percy, the Pulse Dive. Now, Nellie's great. Nellie served me well from beaches in Hawaii and Fiji, if I could afford it, to that caravan park you went to as a 10-year-old kid and you found a family of cockroaches living under the bed linens. But Percy's a bit different. Percy's most at home in the water, like Harold Holt. See, Percy combines three things I love: snorkeling, metal detecting, and loud, incessant noises. There's just something about that. Beep, 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 beep. It's great. I love it. See, Percy is wonderful. I remember one time I was down at the beach, and you find all sorts of things at the beach. One time found a coat hanger at the beach. You wonder how that gets there. Family gets back to the car. Have we got everything? Beach ball? Yep. Towels? Yep. Kids? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Yeah, righto. Coat hanger? Coat hanger? Yeah, Billy's favourite coat hanger. Whoops, must have left it on the beach. If only we had a metal detector. I remember one time I was snorkeling and I saw a blue-ringed octopus. Scared the living daylights out of me. Chucked it in reverse quicker than a chicken at KFC. Only thing that scared me more than that was one time I saw an old fat guy wading across the river mouth, fighting nature's attempts to drop his dacks. Talk about whale watching. A lot of people pay big money to see something like that. Ideally, for any sort of metal detecting, you want to find somewhere that people gather. Could be swimming hole, or parks, or the cinema. The last one can be a bit frowned upon. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the loud beeping, or they're like, "Oi, get out the way, we can't see the movie." Or they feel intimidated when I rip out the shovel, start cracking into their purse. I did have an epiphany recently. Metal detecting, it's not a hobby. It's self-inflicted torture. Every bottle cap is 5 lashes to the back. It's like the flagellants from the Middle Ages. They used to whip themselves to try and pay penance for their sins. Every bottle cap is 5 lashes. Like, bottle cap. I tell myself I'm doing it for the environment, but let's be honest, 50 bottle caps in the middle of nowhere, that's not going to do a whole lot. I remember as a kid, if you ever did the wrong thing, they'd make you pick up rubbish as a punishment. It wouldn't work on me these days. They'd be like, "Oi, stop bullying that kid." Come, really, sweetie, I don't want my daughter to be a pushover. Or, "Oi, 50 bits of rubbish." Come on. That is literally my hobby. You're going to have to try harder than that if you want it to stick. It's like, as if picking up rubbish wasn't bad enough. Give the kid a metal detector. Now he's got to dig for it too. I was thinking the other day, I do find it funny, there's some people that are just synonymous with a particular denomination. Like nobody's heard of Steve the Anglican or Roger the Presbyterian, but everybody knows John the Baptist. I was on a mission trip. We went to the red light district in Bangkok. Tell you what, the traffic was pretty slow. I was thinking about some common phrases the other day, some common phrases that everybody knows. Bob's your uncle. If you think about it, that's just a statement, isn't it? Could be anything, Pop that cake in the oven and Craig is your dad. It's like, cool. What's that got to do with cooking a cake? I got no idea, no clue. Or Shakespeare, if you were his well-known quotes. To be or not to be, that is the question. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Imagine if they'd been written by a modern-day Australian, like a mulleted sheep shearer from the top end. To be or not to be, that is the question. Yeah, yeah. What's going on, eh? Or, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Romy, where are you? Be a completely different vibe. Even a lot of Aussie poetry would be completely different if it was written today. Waltzing Matilda. That song was almost our national anthem. Imagine that. The Americans get up and they sing Our Star-Spangled Banner. And the Poms get up and sing God Save the Queen. It's a song of loyalty and faith. And then we get up and sing Waltzing Matilda alongside some geezer on a banjo. Now don't get me wrong, I love John Williamson as much as the next guy, but I reckon if that was written today it might sound like this. Once a ripper Aussie, cooled off by the river mouth of Bundy, he had as he drank from the can, and he swam as he watched and waited till his skin did boil. You'll have a scorching summer with me. Down came the seat belt to burn me on me digger. Came the aircon blasting him with heat, and he revved as he shoved that Holden into second gear. You'll have a scorching summer with me. Scorching summer, you'll have a scorching summer with me. And he revved as he shoved that Holden into second gear. You'll have a scorching summer with me. On went the barbie and out came the ice cold beers. these snags till they're burnt, said he, and his snags may be smelt. As you pass by the barbecue, you'll have a scorching summer with me. Or, I was thinking the other day, what if Bible characters wrote hip-hop songs like Naomi and Ruth? Everyone knows that story where Ruth follows Naomi back to Israel and then she gets hitched. I reckon if they wrote a pop song, it might have sounded like this. Since we met, I feel a lightness in my step. You're miles away, but I still feel you. Anywhere I go, there you are. Anywhere I go, there you are. Late at night as Boaz falls asleep, you'll be lying right beside him counting sheep. Anywhere I go, there you are. Anywhere I go, there you are. There you are. There you are. You'll acquire him a stud, and you'll always feel him in your blood. Everything is fine when David's granddad's next in line, next in line. You'll acquire him a star. Or the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel, the showdown with Elijah. I reckon if they wrote a song, it might have sounded like this. Baal couldn't start the fire, couldn't light it, and we tried to fight it. Baal couldn't start the fire, it was never burning since we started yearning. I was looking at my Spotify year in review the other day. Basically, it just sums up your listening habits from the last year, and it got me thinking, I wonder if God keeps track of all our data. Imagine you rock up to the pearly gates and St. Peter sits you down and says, before you go in, here's your life wrapped. 82 years in review. Your favourite denomination over the years was non-denominational, but it was good to see you developing a broader taste over the years. I mean, some of the other denominations you checked out were Anglican, Lutheran, Baptist, Mormon. Mormon? Peter, come on! You know I was only there for the garage sale. You know, some of your most well-used quotes throughout your life were, "Life ain't fair, it's dark and hairy. Take your time and hurry up, and she'll be right, mate." Believe it or not, Tim, you were in the top 3% of people who used the term "Daddy God" in your prayers. You used that term a total of 323,086 times in a total of 32 prayers. Wow, that's impressive, Tim. You should be proud of yourself. So, Tim, let's see how well you know yourself. Here's 2 truths and a lie, see if you can pick it out. A, you missed church 322 times in your life. B, you first learned guitar in grade 9 to impress a church crush. Or C, you only ever tithed 9.5% of your wage because of a rounding up. Oh, Peter, that's tough. I reckon it's a trick question because I reckon they're all true. No, you're good. He's got me there. Well done. I realise I've spoken a lot about metal detecting this morning, and I think it's because it's something that I enjoy and it's something I'm passionate about. And I remember before I moved to Whyalla as a teacher, one of the things that I had to do was I had to do a medical. And I remember going in for the medical, and somehow or other I ended up talking to the lady there, and I ended up talking to her about the joys of metal detecting, because she'd been telling me her son was interested and she was thinking of getting him one for his birthday. And I was very quick to start talking to her. You know, I never regretted getting into the hobby. There's something about it that can't be matched. And I remember walking out and I just felt the Lord say to me, He said, "Why do you find it so easy to talk to people about metal detecting so passionately, yet you find it hard to talk to people about me?" You see, I'd become an evangelist for metal detecting, but I've got something so much greater to talk about. The King of Kings calls me his. He's changed me, shaped me into the person I am today. He is so good, but I feel like living in the West, we often find it so easy to take things for granted, not realising that all good things are a gift from the Father. It's like the coffee machine at work breaks and it's like, you give and take away. My heart will choose to say, blessed be the name of the Lord. You know, we genuinely don't realise how good our God is. And it's like, if I'm that excited to tell people about my hobby, how much more so the one that bled and died on a cross to restore us into right relationship with God. I think one of the reasons I find it so easy to talk to people about metal detecting is because it's what I think about more than a lot of other things. If I'm driving through the country and I see an old house, I'll slow down to try and see if it'd be worthwhile detecting. When I meet new people, I look for opportunities to bring up my hobby in the hope that they might know something about where I could go or who I should talk to or about a new spot to check out. I'll put myself outside of my comfort zone to talk to farmers and landowners in the hopes that they might allow me onto their property to dig up some old coins or relics. And it sounds a bit disingenuous, but I believe it genuinely flows from the heart. I look at the world through the lens of my hobby. And I think since that moment when I realised that, my greatest prayer has been that God would open my eyes and my ears to look and listen for opportunities to share about Him, about that which is so much greater. And I was thinking, as Roman citizens, they looked at the world through a Roman worldview. They thought about how can we build the Roman kingdom, how can we expand the Roman kingdom. They looked at the world through that worldview. And I think being a Christian isn't a hobby, it's who we are. We're citizens of God's kingdom with Christ as our King. And as citizens of His kingdom, we should look at the world through a Christian worldview, taking every opportunity to build and further His kingdom, regardless of how uncomfortable it may make us feel. In Psalm 71, 15 to 18, it says, "I will always have hope. I will praise you more and more. I will tell other people about all the good things you have done. All day long, I will talk about how you have saved your people. But there's no way I could say how many times you've done this. Lord and King, I will come and announce your mighty acts. I will announce all the good things that you alone do. God, ever since I was young, you have taught me. To this very day, I tell about your wonderful acts. God, don't leave me. Even when I'm old and have grey hair, let me live to tell my children about your power. Let me tell of them about your mighty acts." So I just want to encourage you guys today to look for opportunities to tell people about the goodness of God. Let it shape you and let it flow from your heart as you go about your day today. There you go.